Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Billy, Gym City Welding. I want to welcome. Crap. Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. I'm your host Billy. This is Gym City Welding, and I appreciate you being here today. So we've got a lot to talk about. I'm going to bring you up to speed on what's been going on this summer here in the Gym City. Talk about the project that we're working on, and some basic things that we want to address when it comes to getting started on a project like this. So all that and more on this episode. Stay tuned.
Okay, let's go.
All right, so yeah, we're back out in the garage today, filming another episode for all of you. I'll go ahead and get the obvious out of the way. Yes, that is a mic. Trying something different, trying to do something hopefully better quality. The last time I wore one of these things was in this video right here with my good buddy Jeff, and it worked out pretty good for that video, so I figured I'd give it a try for this one. But it's been a long summer, and it's been a good summer. Hopefully, like a lot of you, hopefully you got to do some stuff with your families, get out and travel, and those sorts of things. Um, I did exactly the same thing. This year was my 20th wedding anniversary, so my wife and I took a trip up to the Upper Michigan Peninsula and did some traveling up there. Stopped and met a lot of great people along the way. I was shocked at how many people I actually ran into that realized who I was, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, had a fantastic time. If you've never been to that part of the country, you need to check it out for sure. What else has been going on? It's been a busy summer for Gym City Welding. So I do a lot of welding, not only here in the shop, but I do mobile welding and stuff like that. So I've had some pretty big projects come up throughout this year, and just I'll show you a couple of the most recent ones I did. Those were pretty rad. I had a great time doing those. Keeps me busy, gets me parts for the Impala, and just keeps things moving here at the Gym City. So that's been a big key part of my summer and why I haven't really done a whole lot of videos. But we're getting close to fall, so it's like now I'm going to have, I think, more time to be out here in the garage and make some more content for everybody here in the future. So it's been, like I said, it's been a busy summer. But so today's episode, we're going to talk about some things that have been on my mind concerning the channel, concerning all the viewers that watch the show, and things concerning like the project that I'm working on. If you're new to the channel, thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Please hit that subscribe button. It always helps, and it costs absolutely nothing to do that. And it supports me and the channel. So before we get in today's fully topics of the episode, I got a couple shout outs I want to give. So let me get you set up here, and we'll do that now. All right, so the first shout out I want to give out to is to my buddy Max. You guys have all seen me mention him on the channel before and talk about him and his business and what he does. Max is an outstanding dude, and he steps up every time for me on this project. He's helped me out with a lot of things. I've commissioned him to do things for me. And as always, you know, much love to Max and him and what he does. So I'll show you some of the stuff that I've had that I've changed a little bit on the frame and things that he will be offering for sale. So let me get this flipped around and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, so here we are. We got the frame, and forgive me, there's like a rogue bird out here chirping its head off. Anyways, yeah, I hear you. So what Max has done for me, and then I've asked him to put together is I'm going to be running the fat sticks on this car, the CCE hydraulics fat sticks. And from what you guys can see here, I haven't drilled out my cylinder holes yet. That's coming pretty soon. But one of the issues you have on Impalas is the cross shaft. The cross shaft's usually right in the way of where that thing needs to be. And so Max, what he does is he actually takes your stock dog bones, sorry, those guys right there, and Max actually makes it to where you can bolt these up, and now you have full clearance for the fat sticks that Cool Car sells. Max is really good at doing stuff like this, and he is offering these for sale. So if you are going to run fat sticks, or if you're just running standard cylinders and want the extra clearance, then this is a great way to go. You can purchase these from him or send him your originals, and Max will take care of you. So shout out to Max for these. Appreciate that, buddy. Thank you for the support. Um, Next would be, so I'm going to run chains on this car, and I got some pretty beefy grade 100 chain. I mean, it's probably about as big a chain as you can get. And so what Max has done is he's actually commissioned him to make me some chain mounts. And let me tell you, these things are beefy. They are built to take some abuse. And he's already got all the geometry and everything figured out. So these will kind of go somewhere like right around in here. And as you can see, excuse me, the chain goes right up through the mount. Of course, I still have to put tabs on my lower control arms, but yeah, these are purpose built. They're they're super stout, and they're ready to take some abuse. So if you're in the market for some chain mounts that will do everything you need them to do, be sure to hit up Max and order you a set. I don't have a price on these guys or the dog bones, but Max will get you right. He'll tell you what's up, and tell him Gym City Welding sent you. So again, shout out to Max. Um, Thank you, buddy. Again, I appreciate it very much, and check him out, guys. So next would be my buddy Q. He has his Facebook. He has his Instagram. He does a little bit of YouTube. Does TikTok and stuff like that. He goes by Chuck Krager, and Chuck Krager is a really, really cool concept idea, and he has one of the coolest patina 64 Impalas that I've ever seen. And I'm pretty fortunate to call him a friend, and he's a local guy here in the Gym City, and shout out to him. He offers Chuck Krager t-shirts for sale. There's a couple different ones. He's got gray right now and black, and I think he's going to be doing some hoodies and maybe some other colors or something like that coming up pretty soon, custom colors. But he also sent me a little care package, so I'm gonna put you on the tripod and we'll open that together and check that out. Okay, so here's my little care package I got from Chuck Krager. This is really rad. Attention, Billy at Gym City Welding. Hopefully, it's not too close there. Uh, so this is pretty cool, man. I'm excited about this. If you want your own custom care package, get on check out Chuck Rager, and he will send you one. I want to say this whole package is like $15, and when it comes to the t-shirts, I believe they're $25. But definitely message him about that. Some of them have a pocket on the front. The black ones, like this one, doesn't. But it's got the front logo, and then of course it's got the back logo, which is really, really, really cool. And so let's take a look at this and see what all we got here. So he has sent me a pretty sweet sticker with his QR. That's pretty awesome. I'll have to add that to the toolbox. I've been collecting stickers all summer from everybody, and this is going to be a good addition to that. Let's see what else he's got. He makes koozies. So if you're in the market for a koozie, everybody needs a koozie when you're at the car show or cruising around your car. Hit him up for one of these. I believe he sells these individually as well, I think. Hopefully that's right. Definitely ask him about that. Another big sticker. I believe this is one of the limited edition chrome ones. And I'm pretty fortunate enough to have this. So thank you for that. And one of the last things, this is so cool. I love this idea. It's absolutely genius. Is you got your Chuck Krager pinching pennies penny holder. Everybody has loose change in their car, and this is really cool to have. As a matter of fact, he's actually put a penny in it for me. That's so cool. So yeah, I'm gonna keep this in my car, and hopefully you get one and keep it in your car. Keep it on your keychain. But yeah, hit him up for one of these packages. Give him a follow on his social media. Uh, hell of a guy, and I'm super proud to call him a friend. So thank you, Chuck Krager, for the care package, and I appreciate it, buddy. Okay, last but not least, I want to give a couple quick shout outs to some of my fellow YouTube guys. Definitely want to keep an eye on these guys, check them out. The first one's going to be Shooter Chief. I had a very good opportunity to meet this fella in Louisville at the Lowrider Show over the summer. What a blast hanging out with him, getting to network with him and talk to him. He's also got an Impala build going on right now, and he just got his frame back. So he just put his new episode up. I'll put something right here that shows you what he's got going on, but definitely check him out over at Shooter Chief and tell him Gem City Welding sent you. And then last but not least is a very good guy that I've become quite good friends with, and we talk all the time on the phone. He's a great dude. That would be 314 Doughboy. So he's building an Impala right now. He's doing a frame wrap, making killer progress. This fella is damn. I can't say enough good things about what he's doing on his channel. It's a smaller channel. He's just really getting started with his build, but definitely go and check him out. Lots of tips and tricks and things that he talks about that are really important when doing something like this. And actually, some of the conversations I had with him recently is going to tie into today's topic for the show. So we'll get to that in just a moment, but definitely go check him out. So shout out 314 Doughboy. Excellent job on your project, buddy. Keep pushing, keep fighting, keep it going, and best of luck, and I hope to talk to you soon, pal. All right, so let's get on to today's topics. Okay, so one of the things I want to talk about is I have made some small progress since the last time I filmed an episode. One of the things I want to mention is I've tried to take a little bit from everyone when it comes to advice on how to do this. I've never wrapped a frame before until this one. I've been welding for over 20 years, but never done anything on a vehicle to the scale. And one of the things that I've learned after talking and networking with guys is, a big shout out to Brent from Pitbull Hydraulics. I'm sure all of you know who Brent is. If you're watching this video, you definitely know who Brent is. He's the fellow that I got my rear end from. He says, "Hey, Billy, I like what you're doing. You're doing a great job, but you might want to do X, Y, and Z." And I appreciate that kind of thing. Some people might not, but I do. And one of those things he talked about was adding reinforcement plates to the top of my front frame here, which be honest with you, I thought in the beginning that I was going to do such a thing. And then I was like, yeah, I don't know. I just kind of hem-hauled her out about it. And he watched one of my videos and he goes, "Hey, bro, trust me. Put these plates here. You're going to want to do the bottom too on both sides." And I haven't gotten to the bottom ones yet, but as you can see, I've done the top ones. And so I've just put those on recently. And what else have I worked on? I did some work on the body mounts. Let's see. So I wasn't initially going to do reinforcements on the body mounts, but I've since decided to do that. One, because you're adding 3/16 plate. You need to at least do a 3/16 top cap to make that equal when you go to set the body on everything. As you can see, I've capped those off. They welded out real nice. The only thing I have left to do is decide how I want to do the front here. Either I can weld this joint up and just call it a day, or I can actually trim this guy off right here, put a plate, weld that out, and blend it and smooth it and all that stuff, which I don't know if I'm going to blend anything on this, to be honest with you. I see so many smooth frames, which is cool. If that's your thing, that's your thing. But I think I'm just kind of leaving it how it is. I did weld on those convertible mounts finally. Those turned out fantastic. Everything welded out great. I'm very proud of those. So again, shout out to Max. If you need vert mounts for your frame, he's the guy to talk to. But yeah, so I've got all that stuff done. I don't think oh yeah, I did the rear. Let's see, did the rear body mounts finally. Got those guys on there. Just reinforced 3/16 plate and finished those out. And then, so I didn't record any of this stuff that I did on the body just because it's been a busy summer, like I said earlier, and I haven't had really a whole lot of time to film an episode. But what I finally did do was weld in my rear floor under seat floor pan portion. So I did the front here, as you can see. Haven't got the back in yet because I'm going to be replacing that section of the floor. So those of you new on the channel understand I'm doing a whole rear section of this car, and I have all the sheet metal. I just haven't gotten that far. But what I did need to do was actually weld this part in. That way, when I go to set the actual floor in, I'll have this already prepped and smoothed and ready to go. So I also worked a little bit on the front firewall area. I finally got those rust um, areas taken care of on both sides. I had to patch the rocker there, which turned out great. So now the rockers are good to go, tip top, ready to rock. And I'm at a point now where I need to pull the steering column, and I'm most likely going to be taking this door off. If you watch Goozy Fabrication, which if you don't, I highly recommend for Impala stuff, go check him out. But he is able to slide the whole floor pan in um, through this opening right here. But you got to take the door off because the door only opens so far, which is fine because the door's got to come off at some point anyways. But I'm at a point now where it's like if I pull the column and the door, I could put my floor in and get that buttoned up. So that's kind of what's been going on with the body itself. And sorry for those of you that may have wanted to see this part. It's just a pretty simple operation, just drilling some holes or using a punch, which we're going to talk about today. But yeah, so that's where I'm at on the body thus far. And now, like I was saying, since it's becoming fall and times, things are slowing down a little bit here for me with the welding stuff, I can hopefully jump back on these two and start making some progress. So that's the quick update on the car. Again, if you need some mounts or anything like that, be sure to give Max a holler and tell him I sent you. So let's get on to today's actual topic, which is going to be tooling. So here we go. I'll set you up. Let's get it. Okay, so today's topic, it's going to be a little long-winded, but I think there's some valuable information for everybody. I'll be just brutally honest with you. What I'm about to say is not for everybody. This episode is not for everyone. I'm not trying to make this my own personal soapbox, but it's my channel, and it's something I got to get off my chest because I'm be quite honest with you. I'm over the whole thing. So what am I talking about? For those of you who don't have a YouTube or don't do any kind of social media stuff, one of the first things with YouTube 101 that you learn is they always say never read the comments. Don't read the comments, negative stuff. Just pay it no mind, no attention. I'm probably the exception to that. I read the comments for one simple reason. I have people all the time that ask me technical questions about what I'm doing, either welding, fabricating, which I'm going to get into this in a minute. Those are not the same, but welding, fabricating, could be tooling. It could be anything that I'm doing here in the garage. I have people ask me questions constantly, and I'm super proud of that people feel comfortable enough to where they can come to me and trust what I'm saying and use it to their benefit. With that being said, though, there's people out there that just absolutely, for whatever reason, want to dog what it is that you're doing or discredit what you're trying to say. And those people are a dime a dozen. I'm not really trying to give them a platform. I'm not mentioning names or anything like that, but it's so common that I was reading a question the other day. No, excuse me, a comment the other day, and the guy's comment was, well, I'm assuming it was a fellow, but anyways, his comment was, what you're doing on your channel is unrealistic because you have like $5,000 worth of tools that the average guy doesn't have. And I'm reading the comment and I'm like shaking my head because I'm like, what is this person talking about? I don't understand. Anything I've done here on this channel, I am just like all of you. I am just a working guy in my garage. I have a full-time job, a little bit of side hustle, and I'm trying to put my car together. So I'm reading this fella's comment, and I'm like, Okay, that is not true. That is not a true statement. And that is very discouraging to a lot of people because what I have in this garage and what I do in this garage is just about as stripped down basic as you can get. And it's for that reason by design, to be honest with you. For one, I'm not a rich guy. I work a 9 to 5 just like everybody else. And what I've invested in has taken me, 20 years to get some of this stuff. Um, if anybody's reading those comments that watches the show, I don't want them to be at home and be extremely discouraged by that because you got stuff like that that keeps people away from doing these kinds of things, and I'm not a big fan of that type of thinking. I think it's pointless, to be honest with you. So I said, you know what? I need to finally do an episode about tools. I need to explain to people that this is within reach, and we're going to talk about not only hand tools, we're going to talk about my press, we're going to talk about welders, which I'm not going to go too far into the welders because I'm coming up on 3,000 subscribers, and I'm going to do an episode just about welding for lowrider DIY guys. Um, so stay tuned for that. But anyways, I was talking about the welding fabricating stuff and how those are not the same. You can be a welder and not have to fabricate anything. There are guys and who make a lot of money at doing that where they are simply just a welder, and that's great. I think that's fantastic. You found something you love to do and you make good money at it and you feed your family and those things. Perfect. But there are many things that go into the fabrication side. A lot of that deals with everything you see here on this workbench. I may not go into everything individually, but I'll just kind of give you the nickel tour, if you will, of what I've got going on here. So the big thing I want to show and express to people is that the comment that you got $5,000 worth of tools. Yeah, so that kind of mindset is like just for me because everything I have here, with the exception of probably the hand grinder, was under $50. And there are some basic things that you're going to have. Aside from the tooling itself, the hand tools and these kinds of things, the most powerful tool that you have in your arsenal is right here. This mindset. If you say to yourself, I can't do this, well, then guess what? You're not going to do it. You're going to psych yourself out. You're going to talk yourself out of it, and you're not going to be able to do this kind of thing. But if you have an attitude of saying, yeah, I don't have everything right now, but if I start small and start working at it, I'll eventually get to where I have everything I need and then I can make it happen. I know sometimes that's easier said than done, but coming from someone who's done that exact thing, trust me, it is possible. So remember, have a good mindset, keep your head clear about what it is that your goals are and your intentions are and what you need to do. Once you have that figured out and are ready to take the dive and make this happen for yourself, there's some very basic things that you're going to need to get. Obviously, hand grinders are important, right? If you're a welder, if you're a fabricator, or if you're dealing with a rusty, 60-year-old project, you need a hand grinder. There's many different types of wheels. I'm sure a lot of this is repeat info for a lot of you. But for those of you that don't know, there's fiber wheels, there's hard stone wheels, there's wire wheels. These things are excellent for rust, loose debris, slag from welding, that sort of thing. If you're doing like stick welding or flux core welding, a hand grinder is important. Invest in a hand grinder. Now, I'm running a DeWalt hand grinder. I've had this thing for years. I've had it for so long that I've put like 4 sets of contact brushes inside of this thing because I love this grinder. I'm used to it. I'm familiar with it. And for me, it's worth investing the money in the brushes to keep it going. Now, do you have to start out with a DeWalt grinder? Nope, not at all. Go to Harbor Freight, buy you a $15 4.5 inch hand grinder, buy the warranty, the little warranty they sell you for that thing, and use it. Put it to work. Is it going to have the same, characteristics of this DeWalt? Some of it's going to be the same, but some of it's not going to be the same, and that's okay. The point I'm trying to make is start small and eventually work your way up to bigger and better things, especially when it comes to your tooling. Next, I bought one of these Hercules die grinders from Harbor Freight. I got this thing on sale with a coupon, and I want to say it was like $60. It's kind of a little bit pricey for what it does, but let me tell you something. This thing has saved my butt many times on hard to reach areas because you're dealing with a 4.5-inch wheel. You can't always get that into a tight space. Sometimes you need something small, like a grinding stone. These things are great. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them at your local welding supply. But having a tool like this in your arsenal is going to really step up your game. Make that investment. Get you a die grinder, whether it's electric like this one or one that you use for an air compressor if you already have an air compressor. So the two power tools that I really can't live without are these guys right here. Now, there's more expensive tools that are, can do the same job, same concept as these. Your plasma cutters. There's various different angled head die grinders. There's all different types of them. These are the two most basic. Try to get these in your toolbox, or, you know, theoretically speaking, in your home shop, your garage. Again, those are important. Next thing you're going to want to do is you need some kind of way to measure what it is that you're doing. Now, what I'm about to say, please don't take offense to this. I've been in the welding trade for over 20 years, and I've encountered many, many different people throughout my career with welding, and very, very smart individuals who have degrees and all those things, and then just your average DIY guy, just like myself at home. And one of the things that I've learned is that sometimes people use like a tape measure, but they don't really understand a tape measure and how to read it. Now, I know to some of you that may seem like redundant information, but in my experience, I do come across people that have trouble with that, and that's okay. But the beauty of today with tape measures versus like when I first started doing this is if you get you a tape measure like this from Harbor Freight, it has each individual fraction breaking down. So if you have a hard time with fractions, this will help you a lot. If you need to know that something is 3 and 3/16, well, this thing's going to be able to tell you that. This is a very valuable tool. Obviously, you need one of these, but measuring isn't just limited to a tape measure. There's many different things. There's squares. Squares are a great thing for 90-degree angles when you go to cut and mark things. If you're running a plasma cutter, that'll give you a perfect 90. Um, Different types of squares would be these little hand squares. I've used these things religiously for over 20 years. I picked these up, I think, at Lowe's, but you can get them anywhere. Harbor Freight, Amazon, doesn't matter. Garage sales, everybody's got a square. Find you a square. It doesn't have to be the most expensive one. It doesn't have to be, super fancy digital thing. But this, this right here is very, very valuable to me. I've had this thing for years. I think I paid like $30 for it at Lowe's, and this is a digital angle finder. This thing, I used it recently on the handrail picture I showed you guys earlier because you need to find like the slope of a stair. You need to figure out your angles and stuff like that. This takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. By turning this thing on, zeroing it out, this thing will adjust and tell me exactly what a perfect 90-degree angle looks like. It can go 180. It can do all those things. So it kind of takes the guesswork out of cutting your plates, marking your plates. If you need to eyeball something, that's one thing. But if it needs to be like dead nuts on, this thing will help you a lot. So keep that in mind. Is this something I can live without? Yeah, I've grown accustomed to it, and I take it everywhere I go, every job I do, because you just never know. Next, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, but clamps, C clamps, welding clamps like this, whether it's the manually operated kind like this, or if it's a hydraulic clamp, you're going to want some clamps. You need to be able to hold things unless you got a helper. Definitely invest in some clamps. They're not very expensive. I've seen them everywhere you could imagine. Garage sales, obviously at the stores. You can get them super cheap at Harbor Freight. So just keep that in mind. And the whole Harbor Freight plug with all this, it's not a plug at all. It's actually, I'm not sponsored by them. I'm not a partner of them. They're not paying me to say this. I'm just trying to explain to you in layman's terms that you don't need a lot of money to get going in what I'm doing. Next, vice grips. Those are pretty important. You're going to want some vice grips. Uh, Double-sided rotary spot weld cutter. If you don't have a plasma, if you don't have drill bits to hog out spot welds when you're doing sheet metal replacement, get one of these. This one happens to be, again, from Harbor Freight. It's like $7. It's got 2 cutting heads. You just have to flip it over when the other one dulls out. A spot weld cutter is great. Small investment for what it does. Let's see. Next, pry bar. I can't live without this. I've had this thing for over 20 years. It's seen better days, but a pry bar goes a long way with welding and fabricating, because when you're welding and fabricating and you go to tack something or weld a pass, things move. And you may need to be able to move something just a little bit to tack it to get it in place. This isn't, your normal tool that somebody might recommend, but just from my experience, these go a long way. Let's see, drill bits. A good set of drill bits is critical when you're doing this kind of work. You're going to need to drill things out. You're going to need to make new plates, new holes for things, especially you lowrider guys. If you're doing a frame wrap or partial wrap or control arms or something like that, you're going to need to drill holes. So everybody's seen a drill bit. Everybody's used a drill bit. The one deviation from this that I want to spend just a few seconds on is unibit. Well, at least that's what I call it. They go by many different names. You can get these things almost anywhere. These things are the bee's knees. They are great. I love them. They're a little bit pricey. Like, you can get 2 of these for like $30 at Harbor Freight, and they are worth their weight in gold to me. Where drill bits are great, this thing is awesome. So consider getting a unibit or step bit. They're also, called step bits. So that's just about the gist of it. There's 2 things I want to talk about that are, the first one's going to be safety. Safety is pretty important, but I don't spend a whole lot of time on these videos with safety, because let's be honest, I can't make you wear these things. Do you have to have these to cut metal? No. But should you? Yes, you should be wearing these. So, gloves, safety glasses, face shield, that sort of thing. Take care of yourself. I've known guys in the welding trade that have been welding their whole lives with no jacket on, and you can see it on them. It's that stuff's pretty harsh on you. So we'll talk more about that when we do the welding episode. But take care of yourself. Proper PPE. Get some gloves. Get some face shields. Get some glasses. Last but not least, one of the tools that I cannot live without. This is not for everyone, but for what I'm doing in the industry and field that I work in, this is a Roper Whitney hand punch. Okay, I got this thing used years and years ago. I see them on Marketplace all the time. This is a small hand punch for doing little holes in sheet metal. I think this thing will do up to, I want to say 1/8 inch. I can't remember. Point is, it goes from 3 30-seconds up to 9 30-seconds. So that's a pretty wide range. I'll show you more when we get to the firewall portion of the floor pan, eventually coming up soon, why this is important. But this thing will put a perfect hole in sheet metal for spot welding, plug welding, and that sort of things. Plus, it can actually provide alignment holes for you when you're doing sheet metal. So if you got to take something in and out of the car 700 times, but you need to have it lined up perfect every time, something like this can help you out. So I want to say I paid like $20 for this probably 20 years ago, but you can still find them on Marketplace for under $50. Very valuable tool to have. So last but not least, on the hand tool side would be something very simple. Marker, soapstone. These 2 things, you're going to need to mark sheet metal. When you're doing plasma cutting, you can see this, in my opinion, you can see this a little bit better than you can like your standard black Sharpie for metal. But these 2 are critical. You're going to need to cut sheet metal at some point. You're going to need to cut plates if you're doing a frame wrap or partial wrap. So some way to mark your tool, mark your steel. Just a little side note, if you have squares like these, they almost always come with a metal marker in them that's like a sharpened point. so that way you can scribe a line. So that would be a scribe. Um, they do wear out, and sometimes you lose them. Excuse me, but just keep in mind, squares got those in those. And last but not least is a center punch. If you have to drill holes, you mark your hole, you lay your hole out with your square. Um, you want your hole to be dead on where it needs to be. Get you a center punch. These things, super cheap, Lowe's, Harbor Freight. You take your pick. You can get them anywhere. Get yourself one of these. So as far as hand tools goes, that pretty much covers everything with the hand tools. Collectively together, say $50, $50, that's 100, 120, 130, 160. I'm looking at like maybe $200 worth of stuff here. But with that $200 investment, I'm able to do a lot of things in this garage and a lot of things on my project. So that's one of the things that I was talking about earlier. And you guys see this in every episode here, well, at least for the last probably 6 months or so. Every episode I put in the beginning, my little QR code and my logo and stuff, it says invest in yourself. This stuff is making an investment in yourself. Not only does it provide you a way to get these jobs done, but it can also provide you a way to make a secondary supplemental income if you wanted to. You got a welder, you've got a drill press, you've got all these things, you're going to make friends. People are going to need you to do stuff. And sometimes that can be lucrative, just depends on how you approach it. So when it comes to hand tools, that's pretty much the gist of it. Workbench. This is not everyone's average workbench. You guys saw in my very early videos, I used basically like an old desk, like a shop desk or whatever you want to call it, that I put a metal top on. When welltables.com stepped up and helped me out with this, I'm super grateful. To buy one of these, they're pretty expensive, but you don't have to have something like this. You can start out with just a basic table, make your own, or like I did, find an old desk on Marketplace, somebody giving it away or whatever, and that could be your workbench. One of the other critical things to have is a vise. There's nothing like having a good shop vise. This one I recently attached. For those of you that have watched the show for a while, you've probably seen this thing loose up here where I use it for welding and fixturing and that sort of thing. But having a good vise will help you a lot in the long run. You don't have to buy new. Just get you one that works for what you need it to do. So that's pretty much going to be it for the hand tools. I got just a couple other things I want to mention before I cut you loose. Okay, not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, but one of the things that you're going to want to invest in for your home garage is a drill press. This is a Harbor Freight unit. I've had it for probably over 20 years. I think I got this thing on sale for like $50 with a coupon. They're probably closer to like 80 or 90 now. But having a drill press is critical, especially when you need to have something that's dead nuts perfect on in your whole layout and that sort of thing. This helps with production work and keeping things moving along, because sometimes you just can't hold a workpiece and use a drill at the same time. You need to be able to clamp this down to the table and use it that way. So whether you buy new or you buy used, you're definitely going to want to have a drill press. And again, less than $100. This is very important to me and what I do. So get yourself one. Okay, welder, plasma cutter. Welder, pretty important. You're probably going to want to make an investment at some point in that. Plasma cutter, that can come later on, because like I've showed you before, there's other methods to be able to cut your steel or whatever it is you're working on. It's a luxury that you don't necessarily have to have, but it does make your life easier. Like I said earlier, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time focusing on the welding portion of this, because I plan on doing a future episode for the welding stuff. So do me a favor, if you want to see a more in-depth episode about welding, about how to utilize that in home and your project, I need you to comment below. Please tell me. I have really no way of knowing what it is that you like about the episode or what you want to see if you don't comment. So please do that for me if you want to see more in depth on this portion of the welding. But this is just a ProMig 140, 120 volt outlet, which is a 20 amp circuit. So I have a dedicated circuit just for the welding portion. You can pick these things up at Lowe's. And do you have to have a Lincoln brand? No, you don't. Do you have to have a Miller? No, you don't. You can go to Harbor Freight. You can get them pretty cheap. You can get them on Amazon super cheap now. But I've had this one for about 20 years, and it's never skipped a beat. It's never let me down. So you need to make an investment, get yourself a welder. That's going to be pretty important. This one happens to use shielding gas, which is a whole nother separate purchase in itself. Do you have to have shielding gas? No, you don't. You can use flux core. But for the welding type of things that we're doing, flux core isn't really the best application for what we're doing. I'm not saying you can't do it, because if there's a will, there's a way. You can do it. But I choose to use a shielding gas. Like I said, that's a separate purchase. That is probably a $300 investment, between $300 and $400. Your welder is going to be about $500 to $600, depending on what brand you choose. And the sky's the limit when it comes to that stuff. But together, collectively, you're looking at like maybe $1,000. So we're talking $1,000. Let's call it $200 in tooling, $100 drill press. So far I'm $1,300 into the episode, and it sounds like a lot on the whole, but it's really not. It's for what we're doing. It's a pretty cheap investment. So let's talk about the last thing that you're going to look into, and I'll cut you loose. So here we go. Okay, so last but not least, a couple of the things I want to talk about that you should probably think about as an investment down the road. One would be sawhorses. If you don't have sawhorses, you can get these pretty cheap. Again, Harbor Freight. I'm only showing you one, but I actually have two of them. Definitely want to get yourself some sawhorses. Next would be this press. I'm going to save the compressor for last. This press. So I want to say I paid 200 for the press, but you can get these on marketplace used. My metal corner here is a mess right now, but the idea here is I've converted this to air over hydraulic. So normally you would have to pump this to lower it, where I've actually made it to where you can just hook up an air compressor and push this and it will lower the ram for you. And then I've showed this before. I've made a jig to bend sheet metal. I built that whole entire jig assembly for less than $30, and it works great. So, is this a tool that you absolutely have to have right away? Nope, not at all. But it's very, very handy, especially if you're bending 3/16 plates for the lowrider stuff and you're doing frame reinforcements and stuff like that. This thing, it's worth its weight in gold. If you need to straighten parts, if you need to install bushings and control arms, this thing is really nice for that. So consider getting one of those for yourself. And last but not least, the air compressor. So this is probably the most requested thing I've had to talk about here since I bought this thing. This is a Harbor Freight. Let's see, McGraw. Sorry, I should have had the hose off. McGraw 21 gallon, 175 psi unit. Okay, so it's, I don't know, maybe 4 feet tall. This thing is fantastic. It does not come with the hose. You'll have to buy that hose, but it's excellent for what it does. I got this thing on sale. I want to say it was $290, somewhere around there. But you can get them. They have coupons. They have sales. So here's the gist of this thing: 21 gallon, 175 psi, 4 SCFM at 90 psi, and this thing is it does great for running small hand tools. Like an example of that would be, I use this all the time on my project. This little hammer here, I'm sorry, chisel. Obviously, compressed air is great for a project when you have to blow off a frame or something like that. I also have this here. This is for putting holes in flanging materials with the air compressor. That it does great for that. This thing, could you paint a car with this? Probably not. They recommend that you step up to the next model, which, hindsight being what it is, I wish I would have just spent like the extra $100 and bought the bigger one. But for a product that comes from Harbor Freight that does, here's a little checklist kind of explaining what it's capable of doing. It says continuously, intermittently, and not recommended. Right here, HVLP spray gun, sandblaster, cutoff tool. You might be able to get away with that. I don't want to discredit what they're saying, but this thing for all around what I do with it is great. I use it on my plasma cutter. I use it on this thing, and I run, like I said, those small little air tools that you see right there. And other than it being loud as hell, it's very loud. It's a great addition to the shop. So whether you buy new or you buy used, definitely consider getting yourself a air compressor and a shop press if you have a place to put it, and they'll help you in the long run, I promise. Okay, so that covers the gist of the tooling stuff I want to talk about. So collectively, just a rough, very rough estimate. I'm about $1,800 into what I'm using here. Is it the best of equipment? Nope. But does it do the job? 100%. The most I want you to take away from this whole thing is it's not necessarily the tools, but how you use them. It's how you put them to work for yourself. You'd be surprised what you can teach yourself and what you can do with very little. So, my big thing, like I said, is invest in yourself. I'm doing that here. I hope all of you are doing that in your own home and projects and learning a thing or two from what I have to say. And, I appreciate all the support, everybody asking these questions and doing these things. So, when you see those comments, people saying those things, just brush them off. Don't let them get to you. Stay the course, do what you do, and be successful at it and show them wrong. Prove them wrong. So until next time, I'm going to be doing a welding episode. Like I said, that's my goal. So please let me know below. I'm approaching 3,000 subs, and I've got a special giveaway in the works. It's not going to cost you a dime. So look forward to that pretty soon. But do me a favor, please hit that subscribe button. Something like 80% of my returning viewership is unsubscribed. Please hit that button. It helps the channel out a lot. It helps the algorithm pick it up. So until next time, take care. God bless. Thank you for watching Gem City Welding, and I look forward to seeing all of you on the next episode. Have a great week. Take care.